About your project, I've read the anthem, I can call it like this, Love, Loss and Black Holes. Why do you choose this anthem and how do you work on this project?
Yeah, so you want to talk about the title or the log line?
Yeah. Well, so the story is really, it's about a couple that's experiencing a series of miscarriages and they come to believe that their children are being born in another dimension. But it's really about how when a couple goes through an experience, the act of creation, in this case, a child, but even creativity, anything, there's a very emotional landscape there. And sometimes things that people are doing together can actually drive them apart because they experience the pain and the loss and the sadness differently. So it's about like that emotional landscape of moving apart and then coming back together again, and also like trying to understand what it means to go through something, and regardless of the result, like whether or not there's a happy ending, you still have to have the journey together, and how do you always keep coming back together as part of that journey and that process of love and loss. And then Black Holes is just like, because it was we wanted to tell a very personal story, but then we also wanted to open it up to a wider audience that maybe are interested in these subjects but don't necessarily have the experience themselves. And so we thought like the genre of science fiction was really a great way to do that. Like adding the speculative component allowed us to sort of make it a broader story that would hopefully appeal to more people.
Yeah, and I think also the subject matter, like the main theme of miscarriage, is something that's not really talked about a lot in society in general. It's not something people generally talk about. And we thought that was important because, and especially, I mean, of course, from a woman's point of view, but especially from a man's point of view, I think it's something that's men just really don't talk about at all. And so went through this experience in real life, and I remember my brother-in-law emailing me and saying, I went through this as well, and I was like very surprised that he said that. And so I wanted to show that to people that this is something that people go through, and this is something we can talk about.
So you start to think about the project already with the voir, or at the beginning you think just the idea?
No, in the beginning, it was we originally thought it would just be a regular linear short film project.
Okay.
That we would shoot in a weekend and it would be done in a week.
Okay.
And then we submitted it to the Sundance New Frontier Lab, which is an interactive incubation program at the Sundance Institute. And at that point, we started to really think about it as an interactive project, which turned out to take a lot longer than a weekend and a week to make. It took like nearly 2 years to do it that way.
Okay, and about the difficulties in doing the project, which was the more difficult thing to do, the modulation, the VR experience?
I think the interaction mechanic, because from a visual effects perspective, it's always hard. And we understand that there's a lot of friction and complexity in pipelines. Story is also hard.
Okay, and I found interesting also the fact that you are guided but not all controlled in the experience. It was a choice to leave the people to experiment in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it involves like giving up control as a director, which is really hard. Because we want to make sure that they're having the perfect experience, and working in cinema, that's the craft of cinema, right? Like you're gonna curate the experience at the level of the pixel. And so giving some of that up was difficult, but it was also what we had to do. Like if we want to explore perspective, then we have to allow the participant to make those decisions. Yeah.
Okay, about the sounds, the music, do you choose an artist to do the music of the project? You choose the music before, or you have already an idea, or it was during the movie you decided after the mood of the sounds?
I mean, we knew, Reto and I are big fans of, we've always loved electronic music, and we like that gritty feel, like you almost have it inside your heart when you listen to it. And we knew that all the stuff that was happening with the art direction, the story, and the visuals needed to happen at the sonic level as
for doing the scene, you use the actors, and after you modeling the scene, how it works?
So it was like a long iterative process. I think we've come to this methodology now where we try to avoid this sort of classical approach where you write everything down and then you just go ahead and do it. We try and work in a bit of a cycle. So we rough out the idea, go and shoot some stuff on the stage, try and figure out what the staging is going to be. How does that change the characterization? How does that change the story? And then these things kind of work together in a continuum.
Like the layout, like how do the set design, the scale of it, the layout, and then the performance work together. We didn't even know that until we started testing things on the mocap stage.
Yeah,